Hi, I'm Veronica and welcome to Jersey City Pilates. In today's class, we're going to need some light weights. Under 5 pounds is perfect. And if you don't have light weights, you can use cans or a bottle of water, or just your arms are plenty heavy. And we're going to work a little bit on shoulder mobility and stability today in a variety of different positions. And we'll get started. Good morning. Today you'll need light weights. I have 2 pounds, but if I had ones, I'd be using those instead. You can also use 5 pounds or all the way up to 5 pounds rather. I wouldn't recommend using anything heavier than that. You can use a water bottle or your arms. That will also be perfectly sufficient. And then when you're ready, just come to sit on your mat and we will get started. So sitting on your mat, I'm gonna turn this way. You don't need your weights yet, just sit up nice and tall. And you can either have your legs crossed or planted out in front of you, whatever is more comfortable for your hips and your low back. And then either way, press your hands into your shins if your feet are planted, or into your knees. And then think about lengthening through the thigh into your hands as you sit up nice and tall. And then just round down. Let your gaze come towards your feet or your knees, depending on how you're sitting, and then press your hands into your legs and stack your spine up nice and tall. And then again, just let yourself round a little. Don't really worry about outlooks, if you're sitting up nice and tall, how far you're rounding back. Just start to feel your ribs sliding down towards your hips. My dog is making noise like a crazy person. And then stack your spine up nice and tall. 2 more. And as you roll back this time, feel yourself roll back off your sit bones a little, and then notice if your legs want to lift up. I know mine did. And then stack your spine up nice and tall. And then one more time, keep reaching the legs into the hands as you roll back. And then sit yourself all the way up. And then extend your arms long in front of you. And just reach your fingertips away from you, feeling your shoulder blades separate away from one another on your back. And then take a deep breath into your back, flex at the wrist, and then press forward with your arms and then round forward. You may get a stretch between your shoulder blades or just under them. And then stack your spine up nice and tall. Your shoulder blades are still pulling away from one another, and then slide your shoulder blades back towards one another in retraction. And then reach your fingers away, round through the shoulders. And then stack your spine up nice and tall, and then feel your shoulder blades glide back towards one another. And then reach all the way forward, just staying upright, so only the shoulder blades are moving here. 2 more. Really feeling them slide in towards one another, and then away. And then here, let them find a nice neutral place on your spine or on your back. And then externally rotate the arms so your palms are facing up. And then just from the wrist, rotate your right arm down, and then rotate your, not arm, your hand. So your elbows are still pretty open, and then lift your arms up overhead. And then just pay attention with what your shoulder blades and shoulders want to do. Do they want to creep up towards your ears, or do they want to just stay where they are? And then press down like you're moving through molasses. And then lift your arms back up. Think about leading from the thumb. So you're going to start to add a little bit of rotation through your arms. So press down through the palm as you lower, keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed, and then rotate through the arm, pressing back, leading with the thumb, and then pressing all the way back down. Lifting as you go, and then press back down. One more time, you're gonna leave your arms up as high as is possible and as high as is comfortable for you. And then here, just link your fingers together, root down through the left side of your pelvis, and then side bend up and over towards the right. Just let your shoulders relax. Try not to press them down, but just giving yourself a little bit of space through the ears, and then come all the way back up to the center, and then root down through that right sitting bone and over to the left. One more time like this, and then just feel your ribs slide down towards your hips, but you're lifting up and over rather than collapsing in that right side to the top. And then last time to the left like this. And then sit up nice and tall. Press your arms down towards the floor. Your left hand is going to come onto the floor, And then you're just gonna reach it out away from you, and whether you slide your hand or you bend your elbow, doesn't matter, your choice. And then you're just gonna reach up and over again, not collapsing. So think of reaching your right arm to the opposite wall where it meets the ceiling. And then just make sure you're stuck between two planes of glass, rooting down through that right side. And then round, or rotate forward rather. So your torso is more or less in line with your left leg. And now round through the center, walk yourself over to the right in that rounded position. And then place your right hand down, reach through the left arm. At first, start in line your torso with your right leg, and then open your chest up, and then keep thinking about reaching rather than collapsing, up and over towards the right. And then come all the way back up. You're gonna leave your arms long, or you can have your hands on your shoulders, doesn't matter. Just wherever you're at, make sure that your shoulders are in that nice neutral position, and you're just going to rotate around the left. And then pause here, and then think about getting a little bit taller, rooting your right sitting bone down, and then come to the center. And if you feel like you're doing the chicken dance, if your hands are on your shoulders, good for you. And then stack your spine up nice and tall, grow tall through the crown of your head, and then come back to the center one more time to the left. And then to the center, and to the right. Equal weight in your sitting bones, and then come back to the center, and then place your hands down on the floor and come onto all fours. And then from here, just tuck your tailbone under, round your low back up towards the ceiling, drop your head towards the floor. And then just take a breath here and sit back onto your heels. Just keep your legs in parallel unless it's not comfortable for your knees. And then come back into your all fours position and rounded, and then uncurl your spine one vertebrae at a time. And then round your spine up towards the ceiling. And then again, uncurling your spine. Do more like this, just going at your own pace, thinking about drawing your ribs towards your hips as you round forward. And then as you articulate to come into that extension, we're gonna pause here for 1 second. Feel your ribs connected to your hips, your abdominals are still drawing away from the floor, and your chest is reaching, or collarbone is reaching wide through your arms, and then keep your upper body still, and then just round your lower back, and then just arch your lower back. And round through the low back, and arch. Not a very big movement here. 4 more. 3. Really starting to feel your pelvic floor lift and draw in. And for me, I'm really starting to feel my abdominals beginning to do the work more than just thinking about my bones kind of moving in space. And then pause here, round it, and then round everything back up towards the ceiling. And then one more time, you're gonna uncurl your spine, but this time stay in neutral. And then just like we did a few minutes ago, sitting at the top of the mat, you're going to drop your sternum towards the floor. Abdominals still stay lifted. And then you're gonna widen your shoulder blades across your back and press up. Your arms stay straight. Or just sliding the shoulder blades around toward your spine and then away from your spine. And the crown of your head is still drawing long away from the tailbone. And then pause here at the top. Go ahead and grab onto a weight if you have one. And you're gonna take it in your left hand to start. And you're just gonna reach your arm underneath your right arm and rotate your torso. And then rotate back to the center. And then you're going to pivot around your right shoulder blade and lift that arm up towards the ceiling. And then rotate it back around nice and slowly. You can bend the right arm to help increase your range of motion. This should feel nice. And if the weight is not nice for you, then just drop it. It doesn't matter. We're gonna do 2 more here. a bug just died and Julio ate it after it died. Sorry, I can't not laugh at that. And then pause at the top with your arm, or with your chest rotated. And then you're gonna pivot so that your arm is at a T here. And then you're gonna lower it down. And then keeping that arm at a T, lift it up almost in line with your shoulder. You don't wanna lift it over. And again, if this is too much for your arm, for your shoulder, for anything, you just aren't feeling it, drop the weight, no worries. 3 more like this. 2, keeping your torso square to the floor. Last one, and then lower that weight down. Plant your left arm down, and then go ahead and grab onto the weight now in your right hand. We're gonna do the same 2 things. So twisting through the torso, reach underneath that left side, and then open up to the right. And then again, rotate. And feeling your abdominals, kind of moving your hips, moving your torso through space, and just kind of noticing if they're starting to wake up a little. 3 more. Also notice if one side is easier than the other in the rotation. Last one. And then square your torso to the floor. And then here, you're just gonna lower that arm down and then float it back up. And you wanna make sure that your weight is still over your legs and over that right or left hand rather, equally. Neck is long. And you're drawing your left ribs towards your right hips to help give you a little bit extra support because you are unstable in this position. 2 more. Last one. And then lower that arm down. Go ahead and round your spine up towards the ceiling 1 more time. And then uncurl yourself into a neutral. Extend your right leg back behind you and your left arm in front of you. And then you're just gonna lift the arm and leg up and then tap it back down. And again, at any point, drop the weight if you choose not to use it. 4 more. 3, 2. Last one, leave it lifted, round everything in underneath you, weight and knee, and then extend it out long. Here, I like to have my arm in a little bit of or my hand in a fist on the weight, and have the weight pointing up and down. Either way, if you're holding a weight, just make sure that your wrist is nice and stable, so you don't have that break around where your watch would be. Last one. And extend, lower it down, slide your hand down, bring your leg back underneath you, and extend your left leg back behind you. Right hand, grabs the weight, and then float it up. My palm is facing towards the floor, tap it down. And lift. Opposite rib drawing towards opposite hip. Lift. And lower. Make sure you have a little bit of space in between your elbow and your ear. 2 more. Last one, leave it lifted. Turn your palm to face in and then round your spine. And then extend it long. And round and bring it in. And extend. 4 more. Starting to breathe before you move. And then using your whole leg to keep supporting you on that right side. Whole hand on the left side. Last one. And extend and lower down. Go ahead and bring the weight behind your left knee. You're just gonna kind of tuck it under there. And if it is annoying or if it falls out, get rid of it. You're not really missing out. But something different. So you're gonna bring your knee slightly back on the left side from the right. And then you're just gonna extend through the hip and then lift that leg up and then lower down. And then whether or not your knee comes in line with your hips, doesn't matter. I'd rather that you focus on being stable through the back and the core. So ribs are still connected toward your hips in the front. And lift. 3 more. Last one, pause at the top, wherever that is for you, and then lower it an inch and then lift it an inch. Lower an inch and lift for 8, 7, 4 more. You can come onto your forearms if this is too much. On your wrists, 2. Last one, keep it lifted. You're gonna bring it out to the side and then bring it to the center. So externally rotate, bring it toward your upper arm, and then internally rotate, or rather come back to parallel and bring it back up. Externally rotate and up. Essentially a fire hydrant. 3 more. Neck is long. Hands are pressing into the floor. Shoulder blades are stable on your back. Last one, lower it down and switch sides. So pop your weight behind your now right knee. Square yourself off. Make sure your shoulder blades are nice and flush with your back, and then start to lift through that right leg. And lift. Thinking about opening up through the front of that right hip flexor, through the knee, through the thigh. Don't worry about the bottom part of your leg. 4 more. Last one, leave it up there and then pulse for 10. Tiny little pulses. You can think about squeezing your glute. That can be your pulse. It doesn't need to be some big or even really visible movement. For 4, 3, 2, last one, leave it lifted, externally rotate it, bring it up towards your right upper arm, and then rotate it back to neutral at the top. And then externally rotate, bring it in, and then extend. 5 more. And lift. 3. As you bring it in, keep thinking about reaching your right sitting bone back so you're not collapsing through your right side. I think 1 more. And then lower it down. And take the weight out from behind your knee. Come to sit on your back. Not sit on your back, sit on your butt. And cross your right knee over or right ankle over your left thigh. And then sit up nice and tall, press through the ground to lift your chest. And if this is uncomfortable, just lay down on your back and you can do the same position with your legs in the air. And then you can gently rock from one side to the other. I like to think about reaching my foot away. So I get that extra little stretch. In the right side. Come back to the center and switch sides. And always walk your planted foot away from you if you need, sitting up nice and tall. Ribs are still connected with your hips. And then add that gentle little rock if it feels good. Last one. And then plant your feet, grab onto both your weights. Extend your arms out in front of you. Make sure you have enough room behind you. And then curl your tailbone down curl yourself down 1 vertebrae at a time through the spine. Pause when you're about halfway back. And then you're gonna reach your arms forward and then curl up just a little bit. And then again, you're gonna round back just a few inches and then curl up. Think about opening up through the front of the thighs, creating space in the hip flexor by drawing your hips towards your ribs, like you're gonna put your sacrum on the floor before anything else. Wrists are nice and strong. And let the weight in your hand help bring you up. It can make your life both harder and easier, especially on roll-ups. 2 more. Last one, pause down. Find a spot that's comfortable for you, and if it's super low or super high, it doesn't matter. Lift your arms up just a few inches and then lower them down. And if you have lighter weights, try to make your fingers nice and long and have a little bit of a bend in your elbow. Shoulders are nice and flush on your back. 4 more. Ribs draw towards your hips, keeping your abdominals connected. 2. Last one. Pause here and then roll all the way back down 1 vertebrae at a time. Pause with your hands right underneath your shoulders. Your legs can stay where they are, and you're gonna bend at the elbow and bring your elbows wide away from you, and your wrists are gonna, or your weights are gonna stay right over your elbows. So if you have weights, this becomes easier, but if you don't, you have to think that you are moving through molasses. So try to make your arms as heavy as possible. And then feel your back ribs connect with the floor. And then press up towards the ceiling nice and slowly. So you're doing just like a normal chest press that you might do in the gym. But you may have 1 pound, you may have 5 pounds, you may have none. Try to make this as hard as possible for yourself by staying connected. Bring your abdominals into this movement by drawing your ribs together. Ribs are connected towards your hips. You're in a nice neutral pelvis. 3 more. 2. As you lift, keep thinking about staying broad through the front of your chest, so don't let your arms come towards one another very much. Last one, leave your arms here. You're gonna let them come back overhead just a couple of inches, like no more than 4. Back ribs stay down, and then press your arms back. And again, reach them overhead, and back up, and overhead. You'll know whether you found the correct range of motion or not by whether or not your back ribs start to lift, your abdominals want to puff up towards the ceiling. And if that's the case, just make your range of motion a little small. Last one. Good. Pause with those hands right over those shoulders. Wrists are long, fingers are long. If you can, press down through the hands or through the arms, lift the head, neck, and shoulders up. So your hands are long by your side, still in your neutral pelvis, and then slowly lower yourself all the way back down. So we're just doing a normal abdominal curl here, but you've got the added bit of weights to help give you a little support at the top. Elbows are soft. And then again, just checking in with your shoulder blades, noticing where they are. And if you find that the weights are giving you additional tension in your neck, then just drop them. Or you can hold on to one weight together and you will just lower with both hands and you'll lower it towards your pelvis. Last time, you're gonna stay up. Drop one weight. I'm keeping the right weight in my hand, and then I'm gonna lift the right weight up and then lower it down. And then lift it up and lower down. You can always bring a hand behind your head if you need, or just lower your head all the way. Ribs are drawing in towards your hips, just a nice small movement, working contralaterally, giving your obliques, I guess your whole body, a little challenge. Last one. On this side, lower it down. If you have your hand behind your head, bring your left arm long, lift your left weight up, drop your right weight, and then bring your right hand behind your head, and then you're gonna lift and lower through that left arm now. If you find that you need to scoop and press your low back into the mat, lifting your pubic bone up towards the ceiling, no problem. Just whatever position you pick. Draw your ribs towards your hips a little bit more. Try to get those shoulder blades off the floor if it's available. 3 more. Press your head into your hands, creating some length in your neck, both the front and back. 2 more. Last one. Leave that left arm long. Grab the right arm, reach through the fingertips, and then slowly peel yourself all the way down. Extend your legs long. Press through the hands. Lift the head, neck, and shoulders up. Pause here, feel your ribs draw towards your hips and your low back start to press towards the mat, and then peel yourself up 1 vertebrae at a time, and then reach with the arms long with the weights over your legs, and then stack your spine up nice and tall. Grab onto just 1 weight, and then plant your feet. Ow. Sitting up nice and tall, you're gonna round halfway back again by creating that space in the front of your pelvis, so your head still stays like at a similar height. And then holding onto that 1 weight in the center, or you can just hold onto your hands, like, I don't know, however works for you. And then you're gonna rotate only through the rib cage, twist over to the left. And then come back to the center, and then over to the right. And then to the center, and to the left. Center. And then check. You can have your feet pressing in, or heels rather, pressing into the floor, whatever works for you. Just make sure you're moving nice and slowly and that your knees are not moving at all. When your knees start to move, that means that you're rotating through the hips. Pause in the center. Just take that one weight, extend it long, bend at the elbows, and then extend it long. And curl down a little. Bend at the elbows, extend it long. Feel the difference as you bend and straighten your arms, roll down a little bit more. You can extend your legs if you'd like. One more time if you can. Bend, ribs towards the hips, and then lengthen all the way down. Reach the weight overhead. Let it help give you a little bit of a stretch through your arms. You just place it on top of your hands. And then keeping it on your right hand, plant your right foot and lift your left leg off the floor. You're gonna extend your right arm overhead, only so far, again, that your back ribs are staying on the floor, so mine doesn't go backwards. And then you're gonna lift your right arm toward your left leg, and then lengthen it away from one another. And then lift and lengthen, and you can lift your head if you'd like, with your hand behind your head. Support. My shoulder blades are not lifted off the floor here, and that's because I like the support. If I go up any higher, I find that I lose my connection in my abdominals completely. So find what works for you. 3, 2. Last one, pause here. Lower the left leg down, lift the right leg. And now you're gonna do same side. And again, just notice the difference. Your pelvis should be nice and square still on the mat. Wrist is nice and long. 4 more. 3. Think about lengthening through the back of that leg as you lift and the front of the leg as you lower. And then bend that knee and then lower all the way down. Switching sides, so weight in the left hand, right leg is now long. Hand can come behind your head if you'd like. Lift the arm and leg towards one another and then lengthen them away. And then lift and lower. Check out what's happening in your pelvis. Is your low back wanting to press into the floor? Are you rocking from one side to the other? It is trying to press your low back into the floor. Just limit your range of motion with your leg. Last one. On that right leg, pause with the arm at the top, plant the right leg, lift the left, and then extend. Same side. And extend. And again, breathing before you move, keep thinking about your ribs drawing towards your hips. 2. And last one. And then lower that leg down, and then lower your upper body. You can put the weight off to the side, and then grab them behind the thighs, and you're just gonna roll yourself up. Come back onto your, actually just come straight onto your stomach. And you can move your weights out of the way for a moment. We're not gonna need them. Ooh, oh no. Okay. So have your elbows right underneath your shoulders. And then think of reaching, like you're painting your whole front of your body on the floor. And to do so, you want to put as much of your body on the floor as possible. So if you can get a little bit of your stomach on the mat and not just your hip bones, that's great. And then think of the rest reaching forward to like lengthen itself away from your toes. Your hips and pubic bone are pressing into the floor. And then from here, draw your pelvic floor in, draw your ribs towards your hips, and feel yourself now lift off the mat. So you should feel pretty supported here. And then you're gonna lower yourself all the way down, keeping that support through your abdominals. And then have your hands right next to you, about in line with your shoulders or just in front of them. Nose is resting just on the mat. And then you're gonna look, just start to change your gaze towards the edge of the mat, lifting up, keeping that connection in the front of your body, and then starting to look in front of you slightly. So you're in a very small supported swan. Your arms are pressing into the floor, and then lower all the way back down. And then you can think again, like you're following a little spider up a wall. But your head only goes so far. You still want your neck to stay long. And lower back down. 2 more just like this. And lower back down. Last one. Find a spot that is comfortable where you can stay here. Lift the arms up so that they're just hovering off the floor, and then slide your shoulders. Think about sliding your shoulder blades down towards your butt and then lifting through the front of your chest with your hands hovering. And then extend your arms long behind you, and then lower yourself all the way down. Let your shoulders round forward. Now externally rotate through the shoulders, lift the arms up, reach the fingers towards your toes like you're the front of a ship. Your arms are shaking, don't worry, mine are too. And then lower yourself all the way down, left cheek towards the floor now. And then externally rotate through the arms, lift the shoulders off the floor, reach the arms long, and then lengthen them towards your feet. Again, abdominals are trying to lift off and away from the floor. And then one more time to each side. Lower all the way down. Rotate through the shoulders, lift the arms, reach. And then lower all the way back down to the other side. Last one. Externally rotate. Reach the arms and lift. Pause here. Bring the arms to a T. And now you're going to lower your arms towards the floor and lift. And lower them down and lift. Neck is long, so your gaze should be right at the floor. Think about sliding your shoulder blades slightly in towards your spine. So you don't want to think about like crushing a pencil or something behind them. Just a gentle glide as you lift your arms. If this is too much, bend at the elbows and think about lifting, again, just through the upper arm for 4, 3, 2. Last one, bring the arms underneath you, lower back down. Shake your hips from one side to the other. Give them a little rest and release for a second. And then we're gonna do one more thing here. So bring your torso back up into your little baby swan position. And then lift the right arm up. Extend the right arm long, and then bend it back, place it down. Lift the left arm, extend it overhead, keeping that space between your shoulder and your face. And then switching sides. Extend, bend, and lower. Just noticing what this weight shift does, how your body wants to compensate as that weight goes away from your center of gravity. Last one to the left. Bring it back in, press into your hands, and round back. Keep your knees nice and wide, and then sit back onto your heels. Take a nice deep breath here. And then walk yourself over towards the right, reaching back with the left sitting bone. And then up and over towards the right side. Reaching back with the right sitting bone, but reaching your right armpit open towards the floor. Take a nice deep breath. And then walk yourself back to the center. Think about gently pressing your chest and armpits towards the floor. Your forehead can come to rest, and then take a big inhale laterally with your ribs, like you're opening them east and west. Then exhale, feel them draw towards one another, and then down towards your hips. And then one more breath, keeping that engagement through your abdominals. Exhale, draw your ribs towards one another, and then come back onto all fours. I didn't say this earlier, sorry. Fold your mat over at any point to protect your knees. We're gonna do a couple more things here on all fours before we do a little side work. So on all fours, you can walk your hands forward in front of you and then come into a modified kneeling plank. You can also do this on your forearms in a full forearm plank, in a modified forearm plank, or if you're feeling like you wanna work really hard, tuck your toes under and find yourself in a full plank. Wherever you are, I'm not going to be in a full plank. You are going to extend one arm out in front of you and then bring it back underneath you. I need to fold my mat over. So, in your plank position, before actually we start to move our arms, draw your ribs toward your hips. Feel supported through your full torso, and then drop the sternum down towards the floor, and then press up, find your nice supported position. And then from here, you're gonna extend one arm out, just tap it, and then bring it back. Other arm, tap it, bring it back. Just notice what happens. And then bring it back. And bring it back. Some days this may be really easy. Today this is super hard. And then pick another position, whether you are now on your hands and you want to be on your forearms. I'm going to come down into a forearm plank and do this from here. So again, your ribs are towards your hips. Scapula are lifted. I'm going to reach up and back in. Reach up and back in. We're going to do 3 more deep side. I'm going to drop to my knees. Just make sure you're trying more than one position. Last one to each side. And then press yourself back up and sit back on your heels. Take a second. And then grab your weight. You just need one for right now. And come back onto all fours. You're going to grab the weight in your left hand. Again, find that place where your shoulder blades are nice and relaxed, kind of floating on your back. And then pull your left elbow up by your side. So your left elbow should just be in line with your torso. And then you're gonna reach your pinky side of your hand back toward your hips and then bend at the elbow. Think almost that someone is there holding your bicep in place and you're just bending and straightening at the elbow. Keeping yourself square to the floor. Neck stays long. And if you have no weight, again, create that resistance within your own body. You can take no weight or 1 pound. You feel even harder than 15. You're just telling yourself it's hard and it works for some reason. 2 more. Last one, leave your arm long, lower it down, and then bring it up in line. Actually, okay, we're not gonna do it that way. We're gonna switch and you're gonna do the tricep kickback on the right side now. Change my mind. Square your shoulders, pull that left elbow up in line with, or right elbow rather, in line with your torso. Make sure your left arm isn't hyperextended, especially if it's tired, and then extend through that right arm, lower it down, bend, and lift. Neck is long, crown of your head drawing away from your tailbone. 4 more. Last one, pause at the top, lower it all the way down, and then grab both weights and come to kneel. So in your kneeling position, you can either have your legs in parallel behind you, or you can have your knees a little bit wider so you're externally rotated through the thigh, and then like your heels and feet touch so you're in like a kneeling Pilates V, if you're familiar with that term. I'm going to do this in that position. And then grab your weights and have your arms at a 45-degree angle, hands at a 45-degree angle, your elbows are bent, and you're just gonna extend your arms long out to the side by opening up the elbows and then bend back in by your sides. The crown of your head grows nice and tall up towards the ceiling. Ribs are connected towards your hips. Make sure you're not leaning back or forwards, and extend. 3 more. 2 ribs draw in towards one another. Last one, come in and pause here. You're gonna internally rotate and then externally rotate. So you wanna keep your arms at the same plane and then just rotating through that upper arm. 4 more. And if you have a resistance band, you could also do this with the resistance band, 1 side in each hand, just pulling it apart. 2 more. Last one. Good. Bring the elbows in line with your shoulders. And then you're going to reach your right arm up overhead. Your left arm is going to stay where it is, and then resist to bring it back down. And then you're going to switch sides. I like to keep my fingers long on these. It helps me keep strong through the wrist, and then lift up. And so Your arm may not straighten all the way. You may notice that your arm is kind of far away from your head. It's fine. Just make sure that you're keeping that space between your shoulder and your ear. So your neck has room to breathe. Not that neck's breathe, but whatever. 2 more. Back down, last one to each side. Good, and then lower the arms down, bring them in front of you, still at hip height or above hip height. And then you're going to reach your right arm out in front of you as far or as straight as it is comfortable, and then bend back in. And then left arm goes. And right arm. And right. And left. So if you use the reformer ever, this is a servo tray and single arm kneeling work with the straps coming from behind you. So pause with your, never mind, we're not even. So now as your right arm comes out, you're gonna rotate towards the rib cage, reach the arm still straight in front of you, and then resist through the torso and bring it back. And then left arm reaches and twists. Your right arm can come back a little. And then resist with the left arm, reach with the right, twist through the torso. 2 more to each side. Last one. And then come back to the center. Bring your arms out. I don't know, so you're sort of like a little arrow pointing up. And then you're just gonna start to circle your arms up, down, and around. You can make them as big or as small as you want, but have a little soft bend in your elbows. This way they are not hyperextending. Don't worry about lifting them up over your shoulder height. 2 more in this direction. Find that rib to hip connection. Make sure you haven't lost it. 2. Last one. And then reverse. For 4. 3. 2. Make sure your head is floating. Shake it out. Last one. And then lower down. Drop one of the weights. Fold your mat over. If you need, one more thing here on your knees. So you're gonna plant your left arm and right leg. So you're in a modified side plank position. You can have the knee right underneath your hip, but if that's not comfortable, come to an angle, just whatever works for you. And you're gonna reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then just pause here for a second. Really find that reach, and then just make sure that your shoulder blades are stable on your back by ensuring that your shoulder or your hand isn't way behind or way in front, and you're in a nice, strong spine. Neck is nice and long. You can always look down at your hand if that feels comfortable. And you're gonna keep your arm where it is, and then you're gonna float your right leg up, and then tap it down. And float it up, and tap it down. 4 more. Staying connected through the ribs and the hips. 2. Last one. Plant that leg down, and then you're gonna lower your hips and lift your hips. And lower, and lift. A nice small movement here. Your hips can go back slightly behind you if you need for that range of motion. 2 more. Last one, lifting through that bottom hip, and then reach the arm up overhead if it's not too much with your weight, and just get a really nice stretch using the weight here. And then lift that arm up, and then lower the arm, lift the leg. And then lift the arm, lower the leg. And then lower the arm, lift the leg. And down. 3 more. Ribs are drawing in. 2. Last one. Take 1 more stretch, and we're gonna switch sides. Drop your weight, come up nice and tall. And then plant the right hand, left leg, and then grab your weight. Find your side plank position, whatever works for you. You can always, do this in a full side plank if you choose. And then from here, reach up through the top arm, reach the hips up, and then square the torso forward. And then just float that left leg up and tap it down. For 6, neck is long, either gazing at your hand or in front. 3, 2, last one, lower it down, and then lower the hips and lift. Keep thinking about reaching through that top arm to lift and lower. 4 more. 3, 2, last one. Pause at the top, and then get that nice stretch. Gaze can come down to your hand. The weight is there to help you, but also will challenge your balance. And then bring it all the way back up, and then lower the arm, lift the leg towards one another, and then bring it back the other way. Lower the hand, lift the leg, and lower. And lift. 3 more. Make sure the weight doesn't start to come over your head. Ribs are drawing towards your hips. This is the last one. And then take that nice stretch here. Drop the weight if you'd like. And then come all the way back up. And you're going to come back onto your backs one more time. Grab your weights. And have your hands up. This is our last thing. Hands up towards the ceiling. Press down through the arms. And from here, you're gonna extend one leg. Extend the other leg. Lift up an inch higher. Bend the right leg in. Bend the left leg in. Lift a little higher. Extend one leg. Extend the other. And then bend. And bend. Make sure your neck is nice and long. You're gonna keep bending and extending. One more time. Pause with your legs extended. Curl up a little higher and then slowly lower all the way down. Reach your arms up overhead. Draw your back ribs towards the floor. Hands up in line with your shoulders. Press down through your hands. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders. Round forward over your toes. And then let the weight of your arms, if it's comfortable on your shoulders, help increase that stretch in your hamstrings. And if it's not, just drop your weights. And then round forward over your legs. Come into all fours. Round your spine up towards the ceiling. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Send your heels towards the floor if that works. Keep your knees bent. And then with the bent knees, walk your hands towards your feet. If you want to do this with weights in your hands, by all means, that's fine. Feel your sitting bones draw towards the backs of your knees as you round up one vertebrae at a time. Ribs to hips. And then stack yourself up nice and tall. Let your shoulders find their place on top of your pelvis. And then just shift your weight back and forth once or twice. And then find that spot where you are nice and stable. Have your ribs or hips draw up towards your ribs so you're nice and connected. Lift your arms up overhead, keeping that connection to the front of your body. Externally rotate through the arms so palms face away. And then shoulders relax. Rest down. Grow nice and tall. Like your corkscrew. And then let your arms find their place by your side, and your head is hopefully floating on top of your body now. And you're all finished. Thanks. Thank you all. Happy Saturday.